Hey folks, Cool18 here, and welcome to another episode of I don't know if this video is going to be fun or not, but I'm obsessed with Path of Exile, so if I'm playing it, I figure I should probably record it. This is, of course, the closed beta for Awakening, the new expansion that's coming out. I'm still playing my my Quitch character, my Lightning Magic Witch, that was just re-rolled. It is very interesting playing this game, and I just got to Act 2, by the way, so I was going to say, it's very interesting playing this game on a fresh account like this, which the closed beta effectively is. I don't have any of my existing stash or anything like that. And it reminds you that there's some things in the early game that is quite a bit more difficult than you normally consider. For example, I just went and at the end of Act 1, I defeated Merveil, who is sort of who is the boss of Act 1, I suppose, although thematically doesn't feel strongly so. If anything else, like the warden in the prison feels more thematically like the Act 1 boss, even though he's only halfway through. And actually was defeated the first time going after Merveil. And it was like, why is that? Oh, right, because I don't have, like, that much gear with health and damage, so I couldn't just, like, tank it out and burst her down. And she does a lot of cold damage, so do I want to mess with... Nah, it's fine. We can just pop it as is. Ooh, Rogue Exile. Cool. So I actually had to go and pick up a couple of, what are they called, like sapphire rings or whatever, with some cold resistance built in, so that I just pumped my cold resistance from, I think it was sitting at 4 to about 50% cold resistant. That made a huge difference. A, these strong boxes are cool. B, killing a Exile tends to give you some stuff as well. Let's pick up all the rares to start off with, because they always have potential of being awesome. Some currency items over here. We've got one superior item, not worth picking up. I don't think I need anything else in this whole thing. Let's check the rares. I mean, I always haul them back to town anyway, because at that point I've identified them and whatever, and I may as well sell them for some few bucks. At some point, I'm going to have to see some sort of, like, what kind of builds you can do with staffs. It's interesting. It's a two-handed weapon, but it's got a built-in block chance, which is cool. And then a lot of them do tend to have spell damage stuff. Socketed gems. Yeah, I'm still using them basically. I could go and magic up this wand, but I'm like, no, I'll get a better one at some point. Interesting that this... Oh, it's a scepter. It's not a wand. I'm like, why is it only elemental damage? But it does have the 12% spell damage buff as well. Excuse me. Just drank a whole Coke before starting recording. Actually, it's probably okay. Do I have slots for my blues? You know what? I won't bother since I don't have really the slots for it. What about these gloves? I like how it shows the item level now. That's pretty handy. I think my current gloves, just with the higher defenses, are probably still better. Lots of armor on that bad boy. Life regen, some resistances. I don't have the exact... Yeah, all right. I'll put on this piece here. I don't know. Every now and again, like, I just sort of look at a glance, and especially for these, like, early leveling upgrades, it's like, yeah, I think maybe it's better. Screw it, doesn't make much of a difference one way or another. Later on, when you get higher level, upgrades are a little further and few in between, and it tends to be a little bit more, you can sort of tell what the upgrades are, and you tend to have to not be able to just make a sort of gear change on the fly. There tends to be a little bit more crafting involved, but here it's just, you know, kind of mostly just interested in speed. Probably isn't even worth having done any of those swaps, but now that I'm in camera, see, normally I would have just grabbed those, looked for a second, being like, yes, no, done, maybe, I don't know. But now I'm like, oh, I have to justify these choices because people are going to judge me if I make the wrong choice. I know it's got 10%. Anything with 10% quality or more I bothered to pick up. I believe I do have to go to the den to kill the Great White Beast here in Act 2. So Act 1 is mostly on the coast, so you get a lot of, like, beach, sand-looking thing. Now we've moved more into the wilderness. Both have plenty of dungeons and, like, inside buildings, and, like, there's more cavey type stuff in the first one as well. So I like, you know, definite different feel in the second act. Still have not come close to really experiencing any of the truly new contents of this expansion, which not only includes Act 4, which I clearly haven't reached, but also a few new skills and a couple of new mechanics. I mean, certainly, there have been a few things here and there, but nothing dramatic to report yet. Mostly it's going to have to wait until I'm higher level, so I can start taking advantage of the passive skill gems, for example, which are the jewels, I should say, which is going to be exciting, and then also just seeing Act 4, which is going to be all new content. Zap, 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 zap. I probably shouldn't be standing in fire. Although my fire resistance ain't bad, I think. Boom! Level 17. Take a look at her defenses real quick. Yeah, 33% fire and lightning is, at this point in the game, that's pretty good. But you can see my cold resistance was nil, which is why I had to explicitly put on those rings to give myself some cold resistance. I guess I should spend my skill point to beat Merveil. So, since last time, I've picked up all those faster attack speed abilities. Elemental Domination or Dominion over here. Avoiding interrupts while casting. I actually haven't played a pure spellcaster before. I'm going to assume this is pretty important. Just because you'll probably have a lower life pool than normal, so I think it increases the chance. Well, these are not... Well, interruptions from stuns, so I assume... just eliminates the stun. Deep Wisdom, a lot of these things like just gives you a big pile of stuff. It's like, all right, that's worth taking. Then I've gone through here for the elemental damage in general, but also specifically lightning, because that's what I'm doing. There's also the fire and the ice. And now I'm popping into here for some increased life here. Cruel Preparation is a lot of life, and the 5% elemental resistance is pretty good. I'll probably pick up this other life node as well. And I'll probably also pick up Deep Thought on the other side over here, because it's a lot of extra mana. So why not? One of the other things when you're starting with a fresh character is you don't have access to those blood magic gems. So you really, on your first character on like a fresh server with an empty stash, you really do need quite a bit of passive mana regen, and or something that helps you get a lot more juice out of your flasks, which isn't really viable in sort of boss fights. So it is interesting that the gameplay is quite a bit different. So if you're a brand new player, this is a little bit more of the experience you'll get. But if you're an established player, like, you take so many things for granted. Not that I'm like a super advanced, mega high level player here. My max character is what, like level 62 or something like that, which is a far cry from where it could be. Hello, Scumfang. You resist elemental damage? Well, you don't resist it that much. And I don't have that many alts either, but I've got a handful. You know, I've got a bit of a... Basically, I've got a good supply of most skill gems that I might be interested in, you know, in my main stash. Increased critical strikes is actually potentially something we could put to use. Because it's blue. That's very nice. Fireball and Cold Snap. Added lightning damage. Hang on. Let's move some things around. Fireball, go there. Cold Snap, go there. We're going to move our lightning tendrils to here. We're going to increase the critical strike of that, presumably, and go there. Now, that's 90% increase. It doesn't set it to 90. If I go and look at my lightning tendrils, offense, spell crit chance is 9.5. If I remove that, it drops down to 5%. Okay, nope, it definitely works. And what's really nice is when you crit with a lightning spell, that's when you shock things, and a shocked creature takes 50% more damage from everything, which is nice. Gold Ring is interesting because it does give you more rarity of items, and... it's actually got some pretty nice stuff on there to the point where I think it's going to be worth swapping out one of my coral rings, which is hard because the hit points are pretty good. Let's go and put our Fireball and our Cold Snap back. We're going to make sure we've got our Lightning Tendrils on our left mouse click, Lightning Warp middle, Fireball right, Cold Snap over there. Okay. Just a little bit of extra elements to play around with to try to deal with stuff, but there we go. Oh, I should have checked the effective DPS before and after. I think it factors in the crit chance. Right now we're at 115, which is not terribly high. I mean, we do a pretty good job against most average creatures. And I think when I had the problem with Merveil, not only did I go and pick up the 2 cold resistance rings. Actually, I couldn't right away. That was it. It was to say, I think I'm a little over-leveled in a sense. It's monster level 15 here, and I'm level 17, so that helps a bit. But yeah, I was like, okay, I need cold resistance rings. So I went to the vendors, and none of them had one. So what I did is I farmed long enough to level, and when you level up, that's when the vendors refresh their inventory. So then I was able to go back, and one of the vendors had exactly 2 of the cold resistant rings. So I was like, perfect. So I was slightly higher level, and which means, you know, passively you get, you know, slightly higher health and stuff, for example. But also another skill point. But also then I was able to go in with 50% cold resist. There's the Great White Beast. Let's hit you with a Cold Snap. Slow you down a wee bit. Definitely want to clear out some of your allies over here. Let's Cold Snap you again. It's actually kind of a pain to get the Cold Snap off with the Lightning Tendrils, because Lightning Tendrils actually cast 4 times in a row. And so it's like, I let go of the button thinking it's going to instantly stop casting, but it doesn't, right? Because it does, that's the entire cast time right there. So we get the next level of a Lightning Warp, which is my teleport ability, but it's got a long casting time, and then it's even got a long delay, right? So you cast it, there's the cast, and then there's the delay. It's a bit awkward, but it does let me hop over some terrain, which is still nice. I don't think I want any of that stuff. And I like how they did include a back door in this dungeon, just to make it a little easier to pop back out into the old fields. I'm not going to turn in my reward quite yet. I mostly zoom around this little, what's left over here. It's interesting, I'm like so far from where I was, the map doesn't even connect in any way, but that's alright. probably just keep clearing until we get to the next area, which should have... What the hell is that? Tormented Necromancer. That's new and also kind of annoying. Stay put. That is a super long... Look how long it took that teleportation to go. Well, you've effectively, like, kited me into a bunch of enemies. Luckily, you have no hit points. Necromancer's Grip. What? The hell was that? Now, it's possible that's something that I just never ran into in a normal game. But I have to assume that's something new in the expansion. Or maybe I just got, like, weirdly lucky / unlucky. And we got some loot out of it. 10%. Too much clutter. Alright, I can live without the longbow. I will have to make a trip to town soon one way or another, but... Notice I'm not using one of the Twig Spirit shields or whatever it's called that gives me more spell damage right now, because the life and the elemental resist was pretty good, but it might not be the way to go. More block. Oh, I've lost... Oh, yeah, that was it. And this Linden Kite shield that I've got equipped had a bunch of armor and energy shield as well. I guess I'll keep my current one going, just for survivability. I do want to get a spell damage shield again at some point. Certainly seems to make sense. I mean, maybe in the long run we won't use it. I don't know. Let's kill this guy. Dusk Eyes. That's a lot of little traits here. I don't know what some of these do. I don't know what Unwavering does, for example. Maybe he can't be stunned? I don't know. Zap, 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 zap. He does resist elemental damage. That took a little longer. That is not a triply linked rainbow thing, so no point in picking that up to vendor. Get some more Scrolls of Wisdom, because I'm far from being capped on those. Ah, we're at the wall here, so we should be able to go down and find the entrance to the next zone. Like so. The Crossroads, which definitely should have a waypoint. Really should install this in an SSD. Especially the hard drive that it's on is way cluttered and often gets used by like rendering video in the background and things. So yeah, no waypoint in the last one. Fully explored over there. We're good. We'll just find the waypoint here. What do we have here? Hello, Cruel Scar. Extra life. Powerful crits. Fires burning arrows. Yeah, that's fine. I have some fire resist, which is good. Resistances do cap at 75%, if you don't know. However, when you go up to the next difficulty level, your resistances all take a big hit. I think it's a hit of like 50% when you go up to the next level, and maybe 100% at the next level after that. So in practice, you have to have enough gear on you that your resistances would be well over 75% just to stay at that cap. And ultimately, by the end of an act, you generally want to be at the cap, just because the bosses at the end of the act are pretty tough, and there's a lot of elemental damage. So you'll obviously start the next act without having your capped 75%, and you'll be starting another quest for gear with even higher and higher resistances, which is a nice little system, I think. That way it makes it possible to get the resistance cap in each act, for example. 10%? Really? I might be able to shuffle things around. Maybe not, but I'm not going to bother. Okay, that's the ruins. I'm just looking for the waypoint so that I can use that to get back. I mean, obviously I can just use a portal scroll, but the waypoints actually represent, you know, sort of progression throughout the level and allows you to get places quickly. Last thing you want to do is go through a zone and not pick up the waypoint, because there's a fair amount of non-linearity in Path of Exile, and you'll often have to sort of backtrack to an area that you've been to before, and so having those waypoints becomes useful. There we go. So use that. We'll go back to the forest encampment and bank a few things, sell a few things. Oh yeah, and I can turn it. Well, let me bank first. That's currency items. Get rid of this. I'm going to keep that coral ring around for a new character, perhaps. You can identify this mace or this hammer. Generally speaking, if a weapon doesn't have percentage increased physical damage, it's not worth keeping. That's a quality weapon, so we'll put that there. We'll be bulk selling this stuff later on. I'm not going to worry about the shield. We can find other things like that at some point. That is another quality weapon. This circlet, did I want to equip this? I don't think I looked. It's a lot of energy shield. Less armor, obviously. Accuracy. This new one doesn't have life. So, no, I'm just going to vendor that. That's going to be fine. I don't feel any need to keep that around. Although the socket, like +1 level socket, is kind of nice. I don't think it's worth keeping. And the staff and these mitts. The mitts are actually pretty good for a physical character. It's a lot of added damage, but no. And no, I'll just vendor all that stuff. That's going to be okay. None of it is like, oh my god, this is insanely good. We'll find more stuff that goes like that. It's my habit to sort of like pack rat as much stuff as possible. Like, well, what if I have a character one day who needs it? What if I'm slightly off by my calculations and I get an extra 1 DPS and 1% survivability if I change gear? Well, in practice, this doesn't matter too terribly much. Okay, this is an interesting question. Because we might be tempted to get the leather belt for maximum health. It's very good. That's a lot better than the energy shield here. One nice thing about this quest reward, though, is you can pick up a rustic staff. Now, while we don't need the increased physical damage, there's a vendor recipe that you can use. You can put like a normal item, a rustic sash, and something else. Is it like a scroll of wisdom? I can't remember. But you can vendor all three of those together, and what they will do is they will give you a version of the item, whatever weapon you put in there. So you put in like a longsword. You'll get a longsword back that's got percentage increased physical damage on it, which is really good. And the amount that you get is based on the rarity. So by taking this rare rustic sash here, I keep saying sash here, you'll get the maximum possible percentage, which depending on the weapon can be something like, I think it's something like what, 70 to 90 increased physical damage or something. It's a really good recipe, but I think in this case, it's going to be quite good for us to take this leather belt. That's a lot of extra health, which is good for our survival. And if we get lucky, not terribly useful. It's fine. The cold resistance is the nicest bit, but, you know, still clearly better than what we've got. So we'll put that on. We'll get some extra hit points. That's all right. At some point, we might want to start doing a little bit of crafting, but now is not the time. Let's pack that up over there, and you go there, and we can transfer that over as well. Okay. Oh, it hurts to see such a bare currency cupboard, but what can you do, right? Okay, so now we've got a variety of quests on here. We don't actually have to do the quests in order that they get presented in any way whatsoever. I guess one of the things I could do is I could backtrack over here because the levels of zones do go up. It doesn't really matter. Let's tell you what. Let's go this way. There's going to be, what's it called? Catacombs, the crypt, the something like that over there, which is a nice dead end. And we can take care of that right away. We'll never have to backtrack to it. And even if we do, there is a waypoint on the second level. It does help to know those waypoints. There's a pretty good set of wikis for Path of Exile. So you can always look up the various zones to find out if they're supposed to have a waypoint. And you can tell because if they're hollow, there's no waypoint. If they've got a small dot, that means there is a waypoint, but you haven't discovered it yet. And if it's got the big blue dot like we've got here, it means you have the waypoint for it. What's annoying, though, drives me crazy, is you can't see what you're standing on if there's a dot there or not. I mean, here I can tell that they've picked it up because it's a big enough dot. But otherwise, I can't tell if a zone has one or not when I'm actually there. So it's really a little bit frustrating. And you also can't tell if you haven't been to the zone yet, which again is kind of a pain in the butt. I like this one that's got the increased movement speed while it's going on, even though it heals a little bit less. So even though this is a medium flask and this one's a large one, I'm going to keep the medium one for now. You can use in the crafting, so that currency that I've got in the bank, like this Orb of Chance, right? Upgrades a normal item to a random rarity. You can use that on flasks as well. You can make your own magic flasks. You can increase their quality. There's one of those sapphire rings with cold resistance. I think the ones I've got in my bank for beating Merveil were slightly better, so it's hardly worth keeping that around. Although it is worth noting, there are quite a few recipes, I believe, that involve rings. So getting a big collection of rings is not bad. In fact, maybe I should have picked that up. I'd have to double check the wikis again to see exactly what I might want to construct. I could learn a thing or two here. That's a dead end. I wonder if I can teleport through this. Nope. Standard creepy bits, cool lighting effects, like the debris all over the floor. It's little things that make a game, you know. Extra things that don't have to be there for gameplay, but can really help to improve things. Hopefully no one is freaked out by spiders. I believe, if I recall correctly, and this is one of the things I like the most in the closed beta, like, of the vanilla game, there's this part, I'm pretty sure it's in this dungeon, where spiders climb up from, like, below bridges and stuff and look very creepy and awesome. How do I fight you guys? There you go, over there. And we did level up. We'll want to go and spend that. I think I will want the extra 5% life. It's always nice to have more survivability. There we go. And it really adds more and more value to any items that you pick up that have plus life on them, which is already something that you tend to prioritize quite highly. So yeah, eventually I want to wear one of these Twig Spirit shields again, but I'm happy with what I've got for now. A lot more damage, and you know, more damage means things die faster, which means you need less survivability overall, but for now I'm okay with it. Okay, we'll go down here. Zap, zap, zap. A little more zap, zap, zap. Tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and put a cut in this video. You guys do let me know in the comments, you know, if you like this, if you don't. Most likely, since the gameplay, there's only so much I can comment on in terms of strategy, other when it comes to time to swap items. And certainly once we get to the new content for the closed beta, we'll have a little bit more to talk about. But if you have any questions in the comments, anything I should be discussing, let me know. Most likely, I will end up rambling about, you know, completely unrelated topics to the gameplay. Just because I can't not talk. See, I could use my, I could use an item to upgrade the Strongbox's rarity as well, which is kind of a cool trick. You can get some pretty positive modifiers there. And for certain types, it becomes really valuable to do. We're going to pick up Storm Call. It's lightning, but I don't think I want to use it. There's a specific one I want to get at some point. Another type of Mana Flats. This one is magic. Immunity Bleed during the Flask effect. Removes bleed. Increased charge recovery. Okay, I still like the movement of this, but honestly, I do have my Quicksilver Flask, so let's go and do that. Quicksilver Flask is nice for running away from things, but it's also nice for, like, clearing these dungeons a little faster. So you can run around a bit more, especially if you already know where you're going, or if you're planning on bypassing some enemies, you can do that. But yeah, let me go ahead and put a cut in here, and when we come back, we'll clear the whole Chambers of Sin, or whatever this place is called, Chamber of Sins. There's a level 2 that we have to get to, and there's a bit of boss down there. See you next time, folks. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.